Sumimasen, Ichigo wa arimasu ka? The words sliced through the noise of the market like a thin blade through ripe fruit. Shoppers stopped mid-step. A few turned their heads. The sun glared off the asphalt, amplifying the moment like a spotlight. On a stage behind a modest fruit stand wooden crates lined with plump peaches, grapes, and bright mangoes. A woman froze. She wore a faded sun hat and a pale blue apron. Wrinkles framed her eyes like waves etched in time. Her name tag read, Mizuki. The Japanese words had come from a tourist stall, sharply dressed in beige linen, hammer hanging around his neck, holding a small guidebook. He had spoken confidently, perhaps expecting confusion. Instead, the woman answered instantly. Hi, Ichigo wa koko ni arimasu. Tgo wa ima shinzan de totemo amai desuyo. Yes, the strawberries are right here. They're fresh and very sweet right now. Silence. A child dropped a grape. Someone's iced coffee slipped slightly in their hand. The moment stretched. A nearby vendor leaned over, eyebrows raised. Wait, you understood that? Mizuki smiled, her voice soft but clear. I understood perfectly. I lived in Japan for 12 years. The tourist blinked, then beamed. Your Japanese is amazing. Better than mine. He bowed slightly. Mizuki bowed back, but others didn't. A group of younger customers local scoffed. She just sells fruit. Probably memorized that phrase. One whispered. Another chimed in louder. Next thing you know, she's going to say she has a PhD. Mizuki kept arranging the strawberries, calm, precise. But her fingers trembled. Just a little. She hadn't meant to reveal it. For years, she had kept that part of herself tucked away like a keepsake hidden under a floorboard. Not out of shame, out of exhaustion. The looks, the questions, the disbelief, it was easier to just sell fruit. But something about the way the man asked so casually, so kindly, had opened the door. She glanced at the strawberries, glistening in the sun. Their scent reminded her of spring mornings in Kyoto, when she'd bike past the open stalls near Gion, sakura petals clinging to her backpack. 15 minutes passed. The crowd began to forget. A young mother returned with her child and asked about plums. An elderly man requested the ripest persimmons. Life flowed on, but the moment lingered in the air. Like the faint trace of perfume after someone's left a room, the tourist came back. I'm sorry, he said, scratching his head. I didn't mean to cause ... attention. You didn't, Mizuki said, her voice firm but kind. You asked a question, I answered. I smiled. He smiled now. I lived in Shinjuku for 3 years. I work in tech. Can't believe I found someone here who speaks better Japanese than me. You were brave to speak, she said. Most people are afraid they'll say it wrong. The man laughed. I say it wrong all the time. Then he paused, looked at her more carefully. You really lived in Japan? She nodded. Nagoya. Kyoto, then Tokyo, university, then work. His jaw dropped. That's incredible. Mizuki smiled again, but there was weight behind it. Like something tightly packed behind her eyes that had never been said aloud. The day rolled on. Tourists came and went. The sun climbed and then softened. At 4:15 p.m., the woman who had scoffed earlier returned. She hesitated before speaking. Hey, I'm sorry if I was rude earlier. Mizuki tilted her head, eyes unreadable. It's just you really spoke Japanese like a native. I'm not a native, Mizuki said gently. But I did study hard and live hard. Paused, the woman. Looked down. Guess I shouldn't assume things. No, Mizuki said. But you're not the first. And you won't be the last. When Mizuki finally packed up for the day, her fingers still remembered the language, the books, the subway rides, the nights she cried from loneliness in a dorm. 3 stories above a ramen shop in Kyoto, she took one last look at the empty strawberry crate. Tomorrow, she thought she might bring out the Japanese sign she once made, just in case. She remembered the weight of the plane ticket in her hand. It was flimsy, just a printed paper with a QR code and her full name but to her. It felt like a passport to a life she never dared imagine. Mizuki, 19 years old. scholarship in hand, leaving a cramped apartment in Stockton, California, where every corner had a memory of sacrifice. Her parents had scrubbed restaurant floors and folded endless laundry to get her there. "I'll make you proud," she whispered at the gate. Her mother nodded through quiet tears. Her father placed a bag of dried mango in her backpack suite. Familiar comfort for a girl about to be swallowed by Tokyo's skyline. Her first shock in Japan wasn't the language. It was the silence. No car horns, no shouting. It's just the soft mechanical chime of the airport, the gentle iris amaze from a kiosk worker, and her own thumping heartbeat. She knew textbook Japanese. But textbook Japanese didn't prepare her for Kansai dialect or the rapid-fire talk of city natives. Her first week, she got lost 3 times trying to find her student dorm. On the 3rd day, an elderly woman saw her standing, confused by train signs, and gently took her by the arm. "Doko ni ikimasu?" The woman asked. "Where are you going?" Mizuki's voice trembled. "Kyoto University. Jinkakuji area. ... The woman smiled. Wakarimashita. Isho ni ikamashu." "Ah, I see. Let's go together." Her dorm was tiny, just a mattress desk, and sink, but it was hers. She unpacked slowly. First came the books, then the dictionary, then a small photo of her family taped to the wall. Every night she studied, not just classes culture, how to bow at the right angle, how to write kigo, the polite form, when to offer both hands when giving a gift. The meaning behind silence, she stumbled often. Once, she used casual form with a professor and was met with stunned silence. Another time, she handed money with one hand instead of 2 and saw the subtle frown from the cashier. Every mistake was a lesson. Every small success a celebration. One night during her 2nd semester, Mizuki sat at her desk, blanket draped over her shoulders. Outside, snow fell like powdered sugar over the old rooftops of Kyoto. Her notebook was full of kanji, but her heart was full of something else. Doubt. Double quotes. "Why am I here?" She wrote in English, "Because you wanted to learn. Because you wanted more than what they saw in you at home in high school." They had laughed when she said she wanted to study abroad. "With what money?" someone sneered. "You're smart, but Japan. Come on, you work at a fruit stand." She clenched her pen harder. Yes, she had sold fruit. After school, every weekend. At the corner market, she knew how to haggle, how to sort apples by scent, how to weigh bananas by instinct. But that didn't mean she didn't belong in classrooms halfway across the world. Her first friend in Japan was another outsider. His name was Junhof, Korean, half Japanese, never fully accepted in either world. He found her crying in the library. One evening, her textbooks soggy with tears. "Kanji trouble?" he asked softly. She nodded. He slid his own notebook toward her. "I've been here 3 years. Still cry sometimes." "You're not alone." From that day, they shared meals and walks along the philosopher's path. He taught her jokes that made her laugh until she forgot she was far from home. But even Jun couldn't protect her from everything. During a group presentation, a Japanese classmate refused to work with her. "I don't want to get a bad grade," he said. Her accent's weird. Mizuki heard every word, understood every syllable. She didn't cry. Not then. She went home and practiced her lines until dawn. The next day, she delivered her part flawlessly. So much so, the professor commended her. Pronunciation over the native speakers. It didn't change everything, but it reminded her why she came. To fight for respect, not demand it, but earn it. Years passed, she graduated with top honors, fluent in Japanese, with offers from 3 companies, but a phone call changed. Everything. Her mother was sick, hospitalized, the bills were mounting. Her father's hands had grown weak. The fruit stalla, abandoned since she left, was all they had left. She didn't hesitate. She packed her books, took one last walk under the sakura trees, and returned to the country that once overlooked her. Back. In California, the market hadn't changed. Same cracked pavement, same faces, Same underestimation. You were gone a long time, Mrs. Laugh from the stall next door said. Didn't think you'd come back. Mizuki smiled faintly. Neither. Did I? She didn't tell them about the degrees, the interviews, the respect she had fought so hard for in Japan. Instead, she reopened the stall, piled fruit into pyramids, cleaned the signs, and waited. For what she didn't know, but when the tourist asked her years later about strawberries in Japanese, she realized maybe she had been waiting for that. A moment where her past and present collided not in regret, but in quiet power. The cherry blossoms arrived like clockwork that year, soft, fragile, and blindingly beautiful. Mizuki stood under the pale canopy in Marujima Park, her textbooks forgotten in the picnic basket beside her, laughter echoing around her from friends. Both native and foreign, Jun handed her a rice ball. You've got sakura petals in your hair. She smiled, brushing them away. I think they like me. They fall on everyone, he said. But maybe they fall harder on people who've earned their place. She didn't reply, but the warmth in her chest spoke for her. By her third year, Mizuki no longer felt like a guest in Japan. She was woven into the rhythm of life, morning train rides, late-night study groups, vending machine dinners when deadlines loomed. She greeted the elderly tofu vendor each Friday in dialect. She knew which cafe in Gion would let her study. Past midnight, and she was in love. Not the foolish, heart-fluttering kind, but the quiet, anchored kind that sneaks up when two souls understand each other in silence. Jun never said it aloud. Neither did she. But when their fingers brushed as they passed notes, when they stayed behind after every class just a little longer, it was there. One evening, during the Oban festival, as lanterns floated on the river and drums echoed through the alleyways, Jen turned to her. Have you ever thought about staying here? After graduation? She hesitated sometimes. More than sometimes. He looked away, his voice low. You'd do well. You're not like most exchange students. You're here, she swallowed. And what about you? I've never really belonged anywhere, he said. But with you, maybe. It was the closest either of them ever came to saying it. But life is rarely kind to stillness. It was midwinter when the email came. Subject: family medical emergency. Immediate action required. Her mother had collapsed at work. Her father was behind on rent. Insurance barely covered a third of what they needed. Mizuki stared at the screen. The neon glow of the Kyoto cafe casting her face in blue light. Jun arrived 10 minutes later. One look at her, and he knew. She handed him the phone without a word. When he finished reading, he didn't try to stop her. He didn't tell her to wait. He just said, Do you want me to help you pack? Saying goodbye to Japan was harder than leaving home had been. She donated her books, folded her uniforms, walked the philosopher's path one last time, remembering every season she had witnessed their summer cicadas. Autumn fire-colored leaves, winter snow, spring petals. Jun met her at the train station. This place will miss you, he said. I'll miss it more. He handed her a small envelope. Open it on the plane. She didn't cry. Not until Narita Airport disappeared beneath the clouds. On the flight home, she opened the envelope. Inside was a note in his neat handwriting. You are more than where you come from. You're more than where you go. But Japan is always here when you're ready. There was also a pressed cherry blossom petal. It's perfectly preserved. Returning to California was like waking from a dream. You weren't ready to leave. The house smelled the same lemongrass, soap, and the faint sting of cleaning. Alcohol. Her mother was thinner, her father older. But they still smiled when she walked through the door. They didn't ask why she came back so soon. They knew. Mizuki and worked quickly teaching part-time Japanese to community college students, translating documents for a law firm remotely. But it wasn't steady, wasn't enough. Then her father's old fruit stall came up for lease again. She hesitated. I thought you didn't want me to stay in the market, she said. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. You can be educated and still sell fruit. They're not opposites. So she reopened it. But this time she brought a few pieces of Japan with her, the quiet order, the respectful bows, the handwritten signs in kanji tucked behind English translations. Still, She never spoke Japanese aloud, not until the man asked her about strawberries, and everything came back. Before the first hint of sunlight kissed the edge of the city skyline, Mizuki was already awake. The alarm never had to ring. Her body knew the rhythm. 4:45 a.m., coffee at 5. Stall by 5:30. She moved like a machine efficient, precise stacking. Peaches with practiced fingers, checking ripeness by scent, wiping dew from the apples as she had seen her father do decades ago. He had taught her to feel for bruises with her eyes closed. A soft spot tells a soft story, he once said. The market was quiet in those hours. So only the committed came early, the other vendors. Delivery men, the old dash timers. To them, Mizuki was just the fruit lady, not a former Kyoto University graduate. Not fluent in Japanese, or once published in a bilingual academic journal. Not someone who once debated the ethics of translation over sushi with professors in Tokyo. Here she was, an apron, a smile. A woman who gave extra grapes to children and discounts to elders, and that was enough. Most days, but some days she heard it. She's sweet, but not all there, Probably couldn't get a better job. Poor thing, standing. Out here in the cold, each whisper was like a pebble tossed into her soul's pond. Small ripples, always fading but never unnoticed. Then came the days when she wasn't invisible, but targeted. Last month, a man asked her if she knew how to count in English. Want me to help you with the change? He smirked, holding out a crumpled $10 bill. She met his eyes, calm and unblinking. I can calculate pi to the 15th decimal place, she said. I think I can handle your $7 total. He didn't come back, but Mizuki never chased them away. She didn't fight to be seen. She had spent years earning validation in lecture halls and classrooms. She didn't need to shout it from the rooftops now. What mattered to her were the small moments, the loyal customers. The tourist couple from Osaka who came every summer and were stunned when she greeted them with flawless Kansai dialect. Local kid who came every Tuesday and practiced his beginner-level Japanese with her while buying mandarins. Sensei Mizuki once called her with a grin. She never corrected him. There was beauty in her silence, in the way she bowed slightly when handing change. Not out of submission, but out of cultural instinct. In the way she rearranged fruit, like an artist setting up an exhibit. In the way she watered the small bonsai behind her register each morning, a gift from Jun, shipped years ago in a fragile wooden box marked Shendel, handle with care. It had survived the flight. Just like her. One Thursday afternoon, something changed. A woman approached her stall holding a phone. Excuse me, did you help a Japanese couple earlier? They said you spoke fluently? Mizuki paused. Yes, is something wrong? The woman smiled. Not at all. They sent us here. My parents are visiting from Tokyo. They don't speak English. Said you made them feel ... home. Mizuki's lips parted but no words came. She nodded. The woman returned the next week. Who bowed deeply, the mother clasped. Mizuki's hand, eyes shining. Anata wa koko no hito janai mite, she said. You don't seem like you're from here. Mizuki blinked, then chuckled softly. I'm from here, she said. But I was made somewhere else. That night, Mizuki sat at her kitchen table, eating miso soup she'd made from scratch. She pulled out an old folder. Inside were certificates, essays, even an award photo her, in a neat suit. Receiving recognition in Tokyo with a Japanese flag behind her. She hadn't looked at them in years. She didn't miss the prestige. But she missed being seen the next morning. She added something new to the stall. A tiny sign, handwritten in 3 languages. English, we speak Japanese. Ribanyu hua. TNG VIT, Sithu, Noi Ting, NHT. She didn't expect much, but by noon, 3 different groups had stopped by just to thank her. One elderly man bowed and said he hadn't spoken his native tongue in public since arriving in the States, and still, the locals walked by without noticing. But something had shifted in her, because Mizuki was no longer hiding. She was choosing. Kindness over validation. Presence over prestige, but also choosing not to be erased. It began as just another Saturday. The sun was high and sharp. The market buzzed with the usual blend of chatter, laughter, and the occasional horn from the nearby street. Mizuki, as always, was there before the crowd, arranging the fruit like a composer tuning an orchestra. But by 11 a.m., something unusual was happening. There was a commotion near the entrance 3. Elderly Japanese tourists, visibly confused, one of them clutching a handwritten note and another pointing helplessly at a digital map on his phone. They wandered in circles, trying to speak to vendors, but received only blank stares. Ms. Uki watched from her stall. She saw it clearly, the anxiety on their faces, subtle embarrassment, the way they clung to each other like children lost in a foreign schoolyard. She stepped out from behind her counter. "Sumai Mason," she said, approaching gently. "Doko ni aiku to Shitayamasu ka." "Excuse me, where are you trying to go?" They turned, surprised. Relief washed over their faces like a wave. "Ah, Nihongo. Yokata." "Oh, Japanese. Thank goodness," the man with the map explained. They were trying to find the nearby Shibata temple, misled by a mistranslation in their tour guide app. They also wanted lunch but were unsure what was safe. Mizuki smiled. "Shibatadara wa koku kara arut jupan gara desu," I'd said. "Kori kara yasashiku oshemasu ni." Shibata Temple is about a 10-minute walk from here. Let me show you. She reached for a notepad, drew a small, neat map, labeling key points in kanji, hiragana, and romaji. She listed to nearby ramen spots, adding which ones used dashi without pork around them. The market had quieted. Vendors looked over. Customers paused mid-browse. Whispers began to ripple. "Is she speaking Japanese?" "She's fluent. Like, really fluent." "It's the fruit lady." Someone pulled out a phone. "Began filming my ZUK. I didn't notice." She was focused on the couple, answering their questions about allergies, teaching them the American way of tipping, laughing gently when one of them tried to pronounce avocado with a soft A. She bowed, thanked them, and sent them on their way with a small paper bag of fresh grapes. Omahaj, she called it. Then, as she turned back to her stall, applause. It started with a few people, then spread. Even the vendors clapped, not mockingly but with awe. Someone called out, "That was incredible." Another said, "Why didn't anyone know you could do that?" Mizuki froze. It wasn't fear that stopped her. It was the sudden weight of being seen. Later that afternoon, a local food blogger approached her. "Do you mind if I ask a few questions?" he said, holding up his phone, already recording. "I don't usually use studied in Japan." She nodded. "For how long?" 12 years. "Where?" "Kyoto University. Language and Cultural Studies. Then translation work." There was silence, a reverence. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" She shrugged. "Because people don't ask." He posted the clip that night by Sunday morning. The video had over 15,000 views. By Monday, a reporter called. By Tuesday, the city council sent a representative to her stall, not for fruit, but to invite her to speak at their upcoming community Voices event. "You represent something powerful," they said. "Language, culture, humility, and the strength of women who are too often overlooked." Mizuki didn't answer right away. She thought of the years behind the fruit stand. The people who laughed, the ones who whispered, the ones who never bothered to look her in the eye. She thought of her mother who once told her, "Don't chase. Light become the lamp." So she said yes. That Friday, the tourist who had first spoken to her, in Japanese, the man with the linen shirt and camera, turned to the stall. He smiled as he approached. "You're famous now," he joked. She laughed. "For strawberries? For being you," he said. "I saw the video. Everyone saw it. It was ... beautiful." Mizuki tilted her head. "Funny how long it takes for people to see what's been in front of them all along." He nodded. "Some people only hear music when it's loud." That evening, Mizuki closed the stall and walked to her car. Before unlocking it, she looked back, at the sign that now said "Japanese spoken here," at the bonsai tree still alive, at the fruit carefully covered for tomorrow. She felt the breeze lift a strand of her hair. Maybe tomorrow, she thought, she would wear her kimono apron again. The one Jun sent her, long ago, not to impress, but to remember. The town hall was packed. The folding chairs were filled with people from every walk of life: shop owners, teachers, teenagers with phones in their hands, elderly residents leaning on canes, even food delivery drivers who had taken their break, just to attend at the front. The banner read, "Community Voices." Celebrating hidden stories, Mizuki sat quietly backstage, smoothing the sleeves of her blouse. On her lap was a small card with bullet points. She'd written them in English, Japanese, and Vietnamese, not for show, for wholeness. "Are you ready?" asked the organizer gently. She nodded, but her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, from the knowledge that, today, her voice would not be mistaken for noise. They introduced her as a long-time local vendor, cultural bridge builder, an educator whose quiet story has inspired thousands. She stepped up to the podium. The room fell. "Still, I want to thank you," she began, her voice calm and clear, carried through the hall like wind across still water. When people think of a fruit vendor, they imagine someone with rough hands, a simple life, and not much else. For years, I let that assumption sit between me and the world. I didn't argue. I didn't correct them. She looked out over the crowd. But assumptions are heavy. Silence is a language too, one that often hides pain. She paused, letting the words settle. "I grew up in California. My parents were immigrants. We sold fruit to survive. We also read poetry and learned languages and dreamed big." Murmurs of understanding rippled. "I went to Japan on scholarship. I studied at Kyoto University. I translated books. Presented at conferences. I fell in love with a culture that valued subtlety, humility, and deep listening." Her voice softened. "But when I came back home, those things were mistaken for weakness. People saw my apron, my stall, my face and thought, that's all there was." She took a breath, and maybe I let them. A hush hung in the room, but something changed when one tourist asked a question in Japanese, and I answered. Not because I wanted to prove something, but because it was natural. It was me. She smiled. And suddenly, people looked again, not with pity, but with curiosity. Respect, even ... apology. A tear slid down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. "I'm not here to ask for praise," she said. "I'm here to ask that we all look a little deeper, that we see the fullness in each other, that we never confuse quietness with lack of worth." She closed her eyes. For a second, breathed in the stillness, then switched languages. "Watashi wa koko ni imasu. Anata to onaji yu ni. Subite no jinsei ni monogatari garu. I am here, just like you. Every life carries a story." And then finally, in Vietnamese, "Mi, kanji, hu eksang, ang, ggc, lung ing. Every person deserves to be heard." When she stepped back, the applause came not like thunder but like rain, steady, cleansing. Real people stood. People cried. People bowed. And in that moment, Mizuki was not a vendor, a scholar, or a translator. She was simply on completely herself. The next morning, back at the stall, she found a line waiting before she even arrived. Some came for fruit, most came for her. Children asked her how to say apple in Japanese. Elders brought flowers. Former skeptics came to apologize. But Mizuki just smiled, handing out strawberries one by one. "Try this," she said. "It's sweet. You'll be surprised."